What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with Samsung Galaxy A04s camera tips and tricks. So stay tuned if you want to learn how to get the most out of all the various cameras on your device. Now, the first thing I want to do is go over all the actual cameras that we're getting here with the phone, because there are quite a few of them. The first one here is the front-facing camera, which is 5 megapixels. And then on the back of the device, we have a triple camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode, and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. And this phone does support portrait mode with both the rear and front cameras, which is definitely really nice. Now, if you're looking for a quick and easy way to access the camera app from anywhere throughout the operating system here, all you have to do is just double press on the power button. So let's give that a try right now. And you can see just like that, it took us right over to the camera app, so that's very convenient. So now that we're in the camera app itself, here's how things look with the main rear camera. Then from here, we can go over to portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds, and we even have the ability to adjust the level of blur. So you can have it be at the lowest point, or also you can have it be very blurry for everything that's in the background. Then from there, we can flip around to the front-facing camera to do portrait selfies. There's also the ability to toggle the blur as well for the front-facing camera. There's also a group selfie option, so it crops things out just slightly so that you're able to fit more people in one frame. We can then go over to the standard selfie mode too, if you don't want portrait mode for your selfies. Now, flipping back around to the rear camera once again, we can head over to the More tab, and on there, we can access the macro camera. So by going to macro, you can then get very close up here and have things be in really good detail. So definitely kind of a cool, interesting feature that can come in handy in certain situations. Now, another awesome thing too is that over on this More tab, we have a few other options. So there's a Pro mode, and if you go there, you have more adjustments. For example, you can adjust the ISO and white balance, so you might find that to come in handy. Also on the More tab, you can access panorama. So let's capture a quick panorama photo here. So you just have to kind of move things to the side here, essentially panning around. And we'll stop that, and then now it's processing. And there we go, we took our panorama photo. We'll head out of there, go back to the More tab. You can see here there's also a food mode, which is pretty interesting. So we'll focus in on whatever meal you're eating. And then finally, if you want to add any of these down to the bottom slider, you can do that pretty easily. Just tap on this plus button right there, and you can see the directions for that. So let's say we want to put the macro camera down here. You can grab onto that and move it down, go to save, and then now you can see in this bottom slider, we have a quick and easy way to get to the macro camera. So we'll edit that once again and put that back to where it was. There we go. And then you can see too that you can also remove portrait mode if you want to. Now, unfortunately, you cannot move or modify the photo or video modes. Those are stuck down there permanently. So heading back over to the main camera here, you can see that there is a button that says 2. Now, if you go there, it will zoom things in at 2x. However, keep in mind that this is just a digital zoom, so essentially just cropping in. Now up top here, we have quite a few options. Now there's the main settings button right there, which we'll get to in a second, but there's also the flash. So you can have the flash off or put on auto or have it be always on. Then you can see there's a timer as well. So there's options for 2 seconds, 5 seconds, and 10 seconds, which definitely comes in handy if you are a solo content creator. There's also a button here for the aspect ratio. So by default, it is 3:4, but there's also 9:16 or 16:9, which is great for a video thumbnail. There's 1:1 as well, so a square. That comes in handy for Instagram for the most part. There's also a full option too, which uses the entire display here. And then you can see on the left side, there's 3:4 at 50 megapixels. Now, despite this phone having a 50 megapixel camera, by default, it doesn't actually capture images at 50 megapixels. And there's two reasons for that. The first reason, as you saw right there probably, it does take a little bit of processing power to take a photo at the full 50 megapixels, which could be a little bit frustrating if you're taking a lot of photos very quickly. And the second reason why it doesn't default to that mode is because 50 megapixel photos take up a lot of space on your device. So you'd notice that your storage would be quickly filling up, and you most likely don't want to be stuck in that situation. Now, thankfully, if you want to use the 50 megapixel mode, it is there, and you can definitely try it out. And then finally, this button on the upper right here is for the various filters. So there's a lot of options for filters. So definitely try these out, kind of see what you like. There's also an option here to smooth things out for faces, but for me personally, I want all my photos to be very authentic. Another cool trick here, if you want to switch between the front and rear cameras, you can just swipe down on the actual frame here. So now we're at the front camera, and then we're back to the rear camera once again. Then from here though, to access more awesome settings and various things that you can modify, go to the upper left corner to go to that gear icon for the settings. And then once you're there, there's a lot of good stuff here. Now by default, you can scan QR codes with the camera, so that's very easy and straightforward. You can see also there's the swipe shutter button to take a burst photo. So that is by default. So I'll swipe down on that, and you can see I just took a bunch of burst photos there. Now there is another way to modify that. So you can go here and choose create GIF or GIF instead. Let me know the real way to pronounce that, because I feel like everybody kind of thinks that it's one or the other. But essentially now that I've switched it over to that, I can hold down here and I'm essentially creating a GIF or GIF image. And then we'll go to the gallery here and you can see there's the image that I just created. So that was very quick and easy. So that's really awesome. I'm going to switch that back to the default for now though. There's also a high efficiency pictures format as well. Now you don't get quite the same level of compatibility with different devices. For example, if you import a high efficiency photo to your computer, you might run into some compatibility issues, but on the other hand, it is a great way to reduce file size. You can also do kind of a similar thing too for videos. And then you can see too that for selfies, this is a little bit different, but for selfies, you have the option to save them as they appear in the preview without flipping them. So essentially it will save the selfies in the same way that they look in the viewfinder itself. Now further down here you can see auto HDR. I would leave that on, as HDR is generally a good thing. But if for some reason it seems like the photos you're taking look a bit unusual, maybe consider turning that off. There's also grid lines, so I'll enable that and go back here. And with grid lines, you can see there are 9 boxes here, and essentially you're able to use the rule of thirds to better position your photos. Okay, so that's pretty good. We also have location tags, so add tags to your pictures and videos, so you can see where they were taken. Now this one's pretty cool, shooting methods. So I'm gonna go there, and there's a few things here. Some of them are already enabled by default, but the first one is press volume keys to take a picture or record a video. So if you wanna do volume up or volume down, it will take a photo or start recording a video, which is definitely very helpful there. So essentially it's a shutter button, but also if you want to, you can have the volume keys control the volume like they normally would, or you can have them do zoom in or out. So we'll go back here again. You can see volume up, zooms in quite a bit. You can go all the way up to, let's see here, 10x. So that's quite a zoom. That is one of the good things about the 50 megapixel camera as well, is that the digital zoom works a lot better. And then you can see right there, I did volume down and it zoomed out. So we'll get out of that and we'll go back over to this area again and put that back to the default. There's also a floating shutter button. So with that enabled, we essentially get an additional shutter button that I can put anywhere over this camera interface. So maybe it's really convenient for me to use the shutter button right here. You can see I can do it just like that. Then heading back over to the settings once again, let's go back to here, remove that. But you can see also show palm. So if I show my palm when taking a selfie, it'll actually initiate that entire process. So we'll give it a try. And there we go, just took a selfie. Let's do that one more time. There we go. So that's really awesome as well. Definitely very convenient there. And then also there's an area here called settings to keep. So we'll go there and essentially it can keep certain settings in place. For example, camera modes, selfie angles, filters. So if there's certain things that you're always finding yourself switching the phone back to kind of get out of the default, you can pretty much set your own default here. Now I'll show you the watermark, but I do have to flip around to the rear camera for that. So we'll go back, you can see watermark. So we'll enable that. And then you can create your own message. So by default, it says shot with my Galaxy A04s. Let me see if I can fit in by Kevin Breeze. There we go. Good. Go to done. We'll go back and then we'll take a photo and then check out that photo. And you can see right there, shot with my Galaxy A04s by Kevin Breeze. It's very straightforward, which is awesome. So it's kind of arguable on whether or not the watermark feature is actually that useful, but for certain people it might be. I know for me at least, since I am taking so many different photos with so many different phones that I'm testing out, it is pretty helpful having a watermark that reminds me which phone took which photo. But this concludes my video on camera tips and tricks for the Samsung Galaxy A04s. Overall, even though this is a very low-end phone from Samsung, we are getting a lot of really awesome and useful features here. So hopefully this video did a good job kind of showing you all those various features so that you can make the most of the device, and so that when you end up getting the phone, or if you have it already, you're fully familiar with everything you can do with all the various cameras. But if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. But this is camera tips and tricks for the Samsung Galaxy A04s, and I'll see you in the next video.